Divorce is never easy, and if you're going through one in Maryland, the last thing you want is to make a mistake that could cost you time, money, or even custody of your kids. So today, we're breaking down the 7 most common mistakes people make during a Maryland divorce and how you can avoid them. First up, not meeting the residency requirements. Maryland courts won't even hear your case unless at least one spouse meets specific residency criteria. If the reason for divorce happened in Maryland, you're good as long as one of you lives here when you file. But if it happened outside the state, at least one spouse must have lived in Maryland for 6 months before filing. Skipping this step means delays, extra costs, and maybe even having to file in another state. So before you start the paperwork, make sure you have proof, like a Maryland driver's license, tax records, or a lease agreement. Mistake number 2, not understanding the grounds for divorce. Maryland allows both fault and no-fault divorces. No fault means you and your spouse have lived apart for at least a year. But if you're claiming fault, like adultery or cruelty, you need solid proof, such as texts or witness testimony. Choosing the wrong grounds can lead to delays, and in some cases, could even impact things like custody or property division. If you're unsure, consult a family law attorney to make sure you're filing under the right grounds. Next up, failing to fully disclose your financial situation. Both spouses are legally required to share details about assets, debts, and income. If you forget to mention that extra bank account or piece of real estate, you could face penalties or even lose your right to certain assets. And let's be real, if hidden assets come to light later, your case could be reopened, dragging out the stress and costs even longer. Be honest, be thorough, and get everything in writing. Divorces can get expensive, but there's a way to save money and stress called mediation. It's when both parties work with a neutral third party to settle disputes instead of battling it out in court. Maryland courts even encourage it. Mediation can make things smoother, faster, and less emotionally draining, especially if kids are involved. So before jumping straight into a legal fight, consider mediation. It might just save you a fortune. If kids are involved, custody battles can be one of the toughest parts of divorce. But many parents assume that Maryland automatically favors the mother. That's not true. The courts decide based on what's in the best interests of the child, considering factors like parent-child relationships, financial stability, and even the child's own preference if they're old enough. Another mistake? Not having a solid co-parenting plan. Courts like to see that parents can work together, so make sure you have a plan in place before stepping into the courtroom. Let's talk money. Alimony, or spousal support, isn't automatic, and people often underestimate how it works. Courts look at factors like how long you were married, your standard of living, and whether one spouse stayed home while the other built a career. If you're on the paying end, don't assume alimony will just be temporary. It could last years. And if you think you might receive it, don't count on it without knowing the factors Maryland courts consider. Consulting an attorney can help you set realistic expectations. And the biggest mistake of all? Going it alone. Divorce law is complicated, and a single misstep could cost you custody, assets, or long-term financial stability. Having an experienced Maryland divorce attorney means you have someone in your corner to navigate asset division, alimony, custody battles, and more. At Blattner Family Law Group, we've helped families across Maryland handle everything from divorce to child custody and property disputes. If you're facing divorce, don't do it alone. Call us today for a free consultation, and let's make sure you come out on the other side with the best possible outcome.